Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys to Magic. This is Hunter, David, Steven, and Shane. Say what up, boys.
Yo, what's going on?
Mellow.
Hey, nerds.
Hey, nerds. Not what's up, nerds. That's different.
What's up?
We are back. This time, we are talking about some Commander grades. Before we get started, we just wanted to make a little announcement. We will be going to Magic Con Las Vegas. So if you guys are
What?
going over there, say hello. We'll be there too. But in case you guys don't know what this video is, this is Commander grades. We go ahead and talk about some of the legendary creatures, give our grades and opinions on these, and come to a consensus at the end and give it a grade. This episode, we are doing the Precon commanders from Wilds of Eldraine. There was 2 Precon decks, so we will be talking about the face commander and the backup commander of each deck, talk about what we think of it and how it goes. The first one we'll talk about is the Fey Dominion deck, piloted by Tegwyll, Duke of Splendor. It is 1, a blue and a black for a 2/3 legendary creature, Fairy Noble. It's got flying and death touch, and it says other fairies you control get +1/+1. And whenever another fairy you control dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Fairy Tribal. What do we think about it, Steven?
I think it's amazing. I think that this is probably my favorite precon from this set. I won't lie to you.
Only 2 to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, it's still my favorite. You know?
Out of the 2, you'd like some more.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's more of a Dimir deck, obviously, so it's my favorite kind of playstyle. If this is my favorite commander for this option, I don't know. The other one seems kind of fun, which we'll talk about obviously here in a second, but I mean, flying death touch, 3 mana. I mean, dude, that's amazing already. Plus, it's a lord. Shane?
Lord. That's a lord.
It is a lord to all fairies. If you guys wanted the number crunch there on Dimir fairies, 108 of them you can choose from.
Not only
Quite a
that,
bit.
dude. You put in freaking Bitter Blossom in this deck. That'd be amazing.
I mean, there are several cards out there that like make fairy tokens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, in general, there's just 108 fairy creatures.
It's going
That's
to
a
be a
lot.
fun deck. It's going to be a good deck. I'm going to have to pick it up.
What are you thinking, David?
I'm super excited for the precon upgrades for this. I'm actually really excited for this deck, and I like both of the commander options that come straight out of the box. As far as like this card itself, I don't know how much the death touch on this is really all that relevant. I love the fact that it's cheap. The Lord part of it is cool. My favorite part, obviously, is that card draw component, just because I love card draw. So, I mean, it helps just to kind of continue to fuel your deck and give you gas. My only concern being is this commander kind of feels like you have the potential to blow yourself out. Like if you swing in and then your opponents, I don't know, use a piece of removal on this, all your creatures get smaller, so you run the risk of like your creatures dying in combat. And then he doesn't trigger off of himself, so I feel like he's a little bit more of a hate generator that way.
David, I believe you're going to be doing this precon upgrade, so I'm excited to see which direction you take this with either this or the other one. But
Well,
let's move on to the grades of this one. I like this. I'm giving this a B. I think it's solid.
I think this is more of a middle of the road for me. I think I'm going to stick with a C.
I agree with Shane on this. I actually really do like this card. But sadly, I don't give grades based off of like how much I like a card or not. I think this card looks super fun. But as far as power level goes and the potential downsides of this thing just being removed repeatedly and then not doing much, I feel like this is more of a C.
Yeah, David Shane, I think I'm going to join you there. I'm going to go with a C.
Tegwyll is going to get the average grade of a C. Moving on to the backup commander. This is Alela, Cunning Conqueror. It is 2, a blue and a black for a 2/4 legendary creature, Fairy Warlock. That's flying and says whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. And whenever 1 or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, goad target creature that player controls. This one seems also fun, right, David?
Oh, dude, I love this one so much.
Same, dude.
Shocker / spoiler for the folks at home. I think we know which one David's going to pick.
I think we do too. I mean, what is more fun than making fairy tokens after you counter your opponent's commanders?
Goading your opponent's stuff.
Dude, I love this card so much. It messes with your opponents. It rewards you for using interaction. which is fantastic. Like, I can load my deck with every kill spell and counter spell I can possibly imagine, and the deck works. So, I don't know. You just don't get to have things. And the things you do get to have get to attack each other.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I know you're upgrading this deck, David, but you will see this deck in our personal pod. I'm gonna make this deck.
Not if I make it first.
Well, we're gonna have 2 Alelas competing because this deck is awesome.
Fun fact, I already have the other Alela.
Oh, stop it.
We're going to have 3.
No, but I really like I like commanders that do the thing themselves. Like, their strategy is on the commander. David has another very tribal, quote unquote, very tribal deck that is kind of reminiscent of this, but you don't really even need to be throwing in a bunch of fairies in a deck like this because the commander will provide you the fairies to do other things you want to do. So I really, really like that.
Yeah, it's a tribal deck that really doesn't take a whole lot of support in order for it to get going. And then if you are just running a couple of extra fairies, because there are some really good ones out there, even on the turn that you drop this, just swing in with one of your fairies, hit your opponent, goad their thing. And you can always take advantage, too, of, like, if your opponent has small utility creatures, to goad their small utility creatures. That way they end up potentially getting blocked and dying in combat. Or if they do have a big thing that you can fly over, swing it in another direction. That way you don't have to worry about it. I love this card so much.
Yeah, pass go is a real thing, and you're gonna be bluffing so hard every single turn. You're like, all right, I'm leaving up all my mana. Your turn. It's gonna suck.
Well, not just that, too, but, like, a lot of fairies have flash. So there's really no reason for me to play on my turn.
Mm-hmm. That's my point. Like, even if someone's attacking with multiple creatures, you can use a kill spell on a creature. You make that 1/1, and you can block another creature with the 1/1 you just made. It's really good.
So my opinion is insert Shane, David, and Hunter opinion here.
You agree with all of us.
I mean, what do you want me to say? Like this card's good because I mean, really the only time this card will not be good is if you play this, don't have any mana to protect it, and all your opponents are killing it, and then it starts costing more. That's
Yeah.
really the only time this card is going to really just shit the bed.
Or you flood out.
Yeah, I mean, goading is always a fun tactic, and I really like seeing that in this color scheme. And I also love the fact that you can just kill somebody's stuff or counter somebody's stuff, or just cast a spell to start, disrupting the board a little bit, and just make those fairies. And then just like Shane said, this is an all-in-one commander that does everything. I think this will be a pretty big hate generator.
Well, let's move on to the grades. Steven, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give it a B because I'm not gonna lie to you. I think this does deserve the grade of an A, but with it being, it's probably gonna die a lot. So I'm gonna give it a B.
Steven, you're right. It does deserve an A. I'm giving it an A.
And I'm going to be joining Steven on this one. I'm giving it a B for the exact same reason.
Yeah, I'm also giving it a B. Alela gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to the Virtue and Valor deck, it is helmed by Ellivere of the Wild Court. It is 2, a green and a white for a 4/4 legendary creature human knight. It says whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, create a virtuous roll token attached to a target creature you control. That means if you control another roll on it, put that one into the graveyard. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. And whenever an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Are you giving your meh?
I'll be honest with you, man. I really don't even think this deserves a meh.
I mean, it does the thing we just talked about. It's a commander that will trigger itself, which is cool. You don't have to really stick your deck full of these rolls, and I mean, I guess it doesn't have to only be rolls. Never mind. Could be auras.
Don't get me wrong, man. I agree with you, but I play nothing but like weird, quirky decks like enchantments and stuff like that. And in this color scheme, it's really hard for me to like anything that's not Sithis.
I mean, yes, Sith's is really good. However, this is a different lane, I'd say. You're pumping your team with every time you attack, or that you can blink this every time it enters. You're putting one of these virtuous rolls. You don't even need the other rolls for this deck to work. This Virtuous Roll just gives +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. That's pretty good.
I mean, sure, I agree with you. I'll throw it in Sithis.
Yeah, I don't know about this. I'm kind of in the same boat as Steven, to be completely honest. I just look at it as like, okay, well, you have to have another creature in play in order for this to literally do anything at all. So this is going to be a little bit more prone to board wipes. It's going to be a lot more susceptible to that. So like rebuilding is kind of going to be a pain in the butt here. And then I don't know. I mean, like, okay, so you put a virtue counter on one of your creatures, and then your opponent just removes the creature. And then all of your other creatures are going to end up getting like debuffed a little bit if they have virtue counters on it as well, because that aura is going to be going away.
I still think it's pretty nice for constellation triggers. Always making one. Like, even though, like, just like I said, if you're blinking this or attacking with this, you can put the Virtuous Roll on the same creature. It just removes it, and it's still going to come in and trigger something in ATB.
Mm-hmm.
That's not growing it, though, because it can only have one roll.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's like I said, I was talking about Constellation. Those ETB triggers on enchantments are nice.
I mean, like draw.
Sure.
And stuff.
I mean, I get you. I just, I understand you're doing like the devil's advocate thing. I just, I'd rather just cast something rather than have to deal damage to draw a card. I think about enchantments, and I think about what this, obviously, this is a mechanic that this was made for this. So I just don't. I think I'm just kind of like brainwashed a little bit by Wizards because like I've played Sithis before and I played other enchantment decks, and this is a card that, to be honest with you, I don't even know if I would throw in my enchantment deck because this isn't really even an enchantment.
Yeah, I feel like this is a payoff for like green-white tokens or go wide, and we've had hundreds of different options for those kinds of commanders, and I don't actually even think that this one does it really all that well.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting mechanic. We'll see if it is good enough. I don't know. But let's move on to the grades. Steven, we'll start with you again. What are you giving it?
I mean, listen, man, it does a thing, and I'm gonna give it a D.
It does do a thing, and I think it does a thing well enough for what it wants to do. And that's why I'm giving it a C.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of the road with you, dude. I'm gonna give it a C.
I'm also going to give it a C. It's just it's a card.
Ellivere of the Wild Court gets the average grade of a C. Moving on to the backup commander of this deck, it is Gylwain, Casting Director. 1, a green and a white for a 2/3 legendary creature human bard. It says when it or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. You can create a royal role token attached to that creature. You can create a sorcerer role token attached to that creature. Or you can create a monster role token attached to that creature. What are those roles, you might ask, as there's no reminder text? Well, the royal one is enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has ward 1. The sorcerer one is enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature attacks, scry 1. And the monster one is enchanted creature gets +1/+1 has trample.
Can I talk for a second about how much I hate this mechanic? Like, any
Why?
mechanic that requires you have 2 cards to explain what one card does, I don't like the design of it. Like, the adventures that we got in D&D, this, like, any of the ones where it's like, I have to have 2 cards to tell me what my one card does, I don't know. It bothers me.
I mean, isn't it just like an aura?
Okay, but if you have this and you play this and you say, okay, I'm going to put a monster roll token onto a creature, you're going to need to know what a monster roll token does. And this card never tells you. You have to have the actual like other token, or you're going to pull out your phone and be like, oh, okay, this is what my creature now has.
I mean, David, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like you really actually enjoyed the Lord of the Rings set, did you not?
Okay, but see, here's the thing: is that the ring tempting you is another example of that kind of design. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that kind of design. I wish the card would just like tell you what the card did.
I feel like the design standpoint we're talking about is a new design that you're not used to yet. I feel like if you ran through it, like all the other designs that have been in Magic for a while, you'd get used to it and know what they do.
I mean, this one's a little. I will say the only thing I will counteract with that, Hunter, is this one's a little different. Whereas, like most of the time, it's like one thing. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different roles you have to remember.
Oh, I understand. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Like even in my notes, I said it feels like it needs reminder text because I don't want to look it up every time.
I mean,
Yeah.
If we're talking devil's advocate, I can't really say anything better about this one than the last one.
But let's talk about this as a card instead of just what the mechanic is.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I mean, you say you can't say anything better, but this card at least, like, you're just gonna get more value for every creature you play. So it kind of just incentivizes you to play a tempo in this color style. Maybe you won't really have to care as much about enchantments, but all your creatures get stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I feel like every time you play a green-white deck, most of the time you're thinking like counter or like, sorry, not counters, but you're thinking more token-based. You know, go wide, go super large tokens. But this doesn't trigger off of tokens. It has to be a non-token.
Yep. And all three of the roll tokens here, I think, are weaker than the token or than the roll token that you would get off the previous card. I think Virtuous is much better than either Royal, Sorcerer, or Monster.
Virtuous is only found on that one card in the entire set.
I mean, I get it. It's just I still think that Virtuous is much better. That you can make a creature really, really big with that one. With these, you're giving them a minor buff and then just like another minor ability.
You are giving a minor buff, but also adding enchantments onto the field, which is always a good thing for enchantment matters.
I just
Yeah,
don't
and it's
understand
free.
why Wizards did. Hey, listen, we're gonna build 2 decks for this set, and one deck is going to clearly outshine the rest.
I mean, they always do that. What are you talking about?
I mean, listen, man. I thought Slivers was really good. I thought Anakthea was good. Contrary to popular belief, I thought Zuladoc was good. Really, the only one that I did not find attractive at all was the Planeswalker Party for the last set. That's at least 3 other great decks that like blew my mind. This one, like, there's only one clear winner for like top deck here.
I mean, there was only going to be one if there's only 2 options.
I do get his point, though. It's like I do feel like just looking at the quality for the commanders, the fairy deck looks significantly better than the commander options that you have for this deck.
Well, let's move on to the grades for Gylwain. Shane, what are you giving it?
I think it's still just in the middle of the road in that you're going to get a little bit of value out of everything you play. So I'm going to give it a C.
I'm gonna go back to my original grade with the last one. I think this deck is just below average, so I'm giving this a D as well.
I'm sticking middle of the road as well. Gylwain is going to get a C.
I actually don't know if I would even want this in the 99. I'm going to give it a D because it does something, but I think this is probably one of the first cuts I would make from the deck.
Well, Gylwain, casting director, is going to get the average grade of a C. And that is going to do it. That's all the legendaries from the Precon. Very short, quick video. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Also, comment down below telling us what you thought about these grades. Did we miss something? Were we spot on? Let us know. Always interested to hear your opinion. And in the description, you'll find links to our Twitter, our Instagram, and our TikTok. That's @GuysAtMagic for each one. Follow us on those as well. And until the next video, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Later.